You are limiting and delaying your own freedom. Your desire to choose the perfect time, perfect deal, perfect location, perfect everything, as if you only have one shot, is the reason why you're not taking any shot at all.
Welcome to the MoneyFitMD show. I'm Dr. Latifat, the founder of MoneyFitMD.
We want to change the narrative where women physicians use. My job is to let you know that's gonna be. I have to surround myself with people that are doing crazy things.
The journey from where you are to where you're trying to get to is literally just a couple of breakthrough moments away. And I'm going to explain what that means in a second. But for those of you guys that are joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm a physician, and I'm also the founder of MoneyFitMD, where everything that we do is committed to helping women physicians take the income that they're earning and create more money, more freedom, and more wealth. That way, you guys can have the peace of mind, the mental clarity to be able to live life and practice medicine on your terms. But also because if you look in the world right now, there's so much burnout, there's so much wellness. Having choices is so important for our wellness, really. And I believe that money is a huge tool in that. So for the episode today, one of the things that I wanted to talk to us about is sort of like looking at a journey of a single human, a single woman physician. Maybe you just finished fellowship, maybe you're an attending, you've been hearing about money for years, but you haven't actually made moves that creates more money and more freedom. And the reason why many people are that way is because it can seem overwhelming, right? You're looking at people that maybe are living the life that you want or some version of it. Maybe they are practicing medicine part-time. Maybe they can take a year off or 3 months off. Maybe they have replaced their clinical income with other sources of income and still choosing to work clinically because that's what they want. That's how they want to give value to this world. And maybe you're looking from a place that feels like outside right now and it just feels overwhelming. You're like, the journey from where I am to where they are, where I want to get to, just seems so far. There is no way I can make it. Like it doesn't look practical or logical to you, or maybe it seems like it's going to take forever. I'm here to show you and tell you that it does not take a long time. It does not take forever. Actually, it takes as long as you let it take, right? And the problem is that many of us are not taking action. We're sitting in overwhelm. We're letting the fear, we're like making the mountain seem so big in such a way that even we are finding it hard to scale the mountain, right? So I want to share some things with you today that I truly, truly believe can be helpful for you when you realize that it doesn't actually take a long time. It just takes a series of steps. It takes a series of what I call breakthrough moments. So what exactly is breakthrough? Sorry, that was my alarm. What exactly is breakthrough? So if you want to think about breakthrough are significant moments in time that creates like sudden changes or sudden shift to where you're like, that moment it now becomes pivotal to the season that you're in or the season that you're about to get in. So let me try and break down a little bit. For some of you guys, I may not be as familiar with breakthrough. So it is a moment where you literally break through. Like you're like, you can call it an aha moment, but it's more than aha moment. It's deeper than aha moment. It goes deeper than that. You're like, oh, I've been hearing this all the time. And finally, it clicks. And that click right there is what you call breakthrough. And so when I look at my own journey, I wanted to pull out some pivotal breakthrough moments that I think made a huge impact in my journey going forward. And for those of you guys that may not be as familiar with my journey, like I said earlier, I'm a physician, I'm a practicing gastroenterologist, and I love saying that I'm a practicing gastroenterologist because I think there's this fallacy that, oh, if you're doing well when it comes to your finances, now you got to quit medicine. And it's not true. It just means now you can do what you want. And for me, I love medicine. It truly is an honor to practice GI. And I get to do that on my terms. And I do that a couple of times a month. And it is an honor to serve the people that I serve at the capacity that I choose to serve in this season of my life. Okay. My journey to finances started about 8 years ago. I knew zero about money. I knew how to earn it, like most of us physicians clinically, because we've mastered the skills that saves lives. So I knew how to earn an income. However, what I did not know was anything else when it came to money.
I did not know where my money was going. I did not know how much debt I had. I did not know what a 401k was. And I did not understand anything about the stock market. At no point did I think that real estate was something that I could do. At no point did I even imagine that I could be an entrepreneur. And I think part of it was because I grew up in a family where I was the only sciencey person. So I kind of like delegated myself to a corner where I'm like, oh, I'm the doctor one, I'm the sciencey one, and y'all are like the money people, the accountant, the everything else, right? So I was safe in my corner. And what I did not know was that I was kind of just like digging myself deeper and deeper into an identity that I've had to dig myself out of over the last couple of years. But when I realized that, okay, if I looked into the future of medicine, in order to be well in medicine, in order to not like sell your soul, in order to not like bang your head or like against the wall until you get a huge hematoma and die, I realized, and I'm so grateful, honestly, for this. I just realized the fact that money was going to be a tool in that journey. So I started looking at my finances. I looked at, okay, what's a budget? I hated budgeting, like traditional budgeting. Tried memorizing all the lingos. It wasn't working. And at some point, I was like, okay, Latifah, we got to do something different. We cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And what that meant was that I had to disengage with the traditional way that finances and money is being taught. And I had to figure out a different system that just made more sense to me, which meant that instead of going like traditional budgeting, I was like, you know what? I can just create a plan for my money, like a spending plan. Like, I don't like spreadsheets. I don't like all that stuff. I don't like too many tables. I don't like too many formula. Like, simple is just works for my brain. I love simple. I can do hard things, but if I can make it simple, why not? So that journey literally took me from knowing nothing about money, knowing nothing about what I owed, who I owed, to deciding that I wanted to pay my student debt off in 5 years. And the reason why I chose that milestone was that that was the only thing that I knew people talked about when it comes to money. Like, if you want to have money, don't have debt, I guess. So I was like, okay, I guess when you pay off debt, you become wealthy. That's what you do. So I was like, I can do this in 5 years. I ended up doing it in 2.5 years by disengaging from the traditional financial way that money has been taught. And after I did that, I was like, okay, well, I'm done with debt now, but I still don't got a choice. I still have to go to work. I still cannot say no. I still cannot consider myself independent or quote unquote self sufficient, which I don't use that word a lot because I don't really think the goal is for anybody to be self sufficient, but y'all get what I mean. And so that journey was when I now started learning about investments. And actually, instead of learning about investment only, I started taking actions in investment. And I was like, this stuff actually is not even hard. So what I realized was that the more I learned and took action, and I'm saying that intentionally because sometimes people learn. They learn from everybody and their mother and try to avoid the most critical thing, which is looking at their own finances. So that journey was what helped me go from negative 200K to seven figure in 5 years. And then after that, we've been growing our finances, living our lives, doing the things that we believe we're here to do on this earth. And so when I look at that journey, though, there are certain moments in time, like breakthrough moments, where there was a shift. Usually the shift happened first in my thinking before it happened in my results. So something clicked, and it clicked enough to the point that it was deep enough that it propelled me to do something different than I was doing before, or with more intensity, or with more assuredness, or with more belief, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to tell you guys some of those so that as you're listening right now, regardless of where you are in your journey, maybe just hearing me even talk about this can activate your own breakthrough moment from what I'm talking about, or from the other things that is like, oh, wait a minute, that lands. And when it lands, the key and the goal is for you to go take an action. Don't waste a breakthrough. I'm just going to repeat that. Do not waste a breakthrough. The way you classify or celebrate a win from what you're learning is not based on how many pages of notes you can take from what I'm teaching you. It's the fact that you've taken one thing and now taken that one thing and ran with it. But I'm not here to like when I'm learning myself, I'm not there to like learn everything in the world. I'm there to learn like the simplest, the lowest hanging fruit, the most skeleton of the skeleton. And then I now take that, apply it, right? And then I'm able to create something different with it. It's like a small shift is what you need to like perfect your own recipe in the season. So again, make sure that as I'm talking right now, as you're listening, if there's anything that like clicks for you, take it, write it down. If you're driving, do not type while you're driving. But like you get my point. And if you need to listen to this episode multiple times, that's fine. And if at any point you get anything clicks for you, I want to just challenge you to share this episode with another woman physician, another human that benefit from the knowledge and may be able to get her own breakthrough from what you're learning today. Okay. So the one of the earliest breakthrough that I had was this. And it may sound really silly to you, but I used it when I was negative 200K and I still use it and have to remind myself every time I'm in front of what seems like a big mountain. And it is the simple fact that I'm not stupid. I can learn money. I'm not stupid. I can learn money. And I cannot tell you how many women physicians may not use the word stupid, but they don't believe that they can get good with money. And they make the mistake of avoiding it or delegating to anybody else. And unfortunately, that actually bites us in the butt. Because what I found is that in so many situations where women physicians are, married and maybe go through a divorce, when you don't know about your finances, when you're a stranger in your finances, you will end up potentially getting the short end of the stick. I literally had someone who told me that, one of the things that we do is we'll bring guest experts inside of the money school about once a month to come teach something that's in their area of like expertise, what they're so good at. And I remember we had someone that came in to talk about options trading. And, some of our women are doing that. It's not something that I do personally, but my goal is to serve my women. So I bring them what they need. And so we had someone come talk about options trading. And one of the amazing women physicians in our community was like, do you know that my spouse was one of the people that started the idea of being able to trade options portably from your mobile device? And when they had gone their separate ways, because she was not at that point familiar and comfortable with money, because she did not believe that she was someone that could be good at money at that time, she ended up walking away without any part of the business. And, of course, she's building her own stuff now. We don't sit down and regret. That's okay. But that was something that she invested her time and energy into as a partner in that business, right? I mean, like as a romantic relational partner in this person's business that they were building, right? And so the thought that you are not good at money, if you let that stop you, it will burn you, it will hurt you, and it will deep down your ability to have freedom in the shortest amount of time possible. So for me, and for many people, the breakthrough moment is like, wait a minute, I'm not stupid. I I do one of the hardest things there is to do as a country, as a profession. If I can learn that, if I can go from being Latifat that did not even know how to check a blood pressure or pulse, actually, when I started med school, to being someone that can save lives, I can learn money. And I just let that sink in. And next time you're about to embark on something that feels hard, remind yourself of that. That may be a breakthrough moment for you. The other breakthrough that I realized was that I did not have to be perfect. In fact, I did not have to do my money perfect in order to be successful at it. And thankfully, for many physicians, averagely, we earn, relatively speaking, a high income. And so we can actually afford to do many things imperfectly. We can afford to like have more liabilities. We can afford to like, make more mistakes than most people and still come out ahead. Of course, you don't want to make too many mistakes. However, I realized that I did not have to be perfect in my money. And at first, I was like, okay, I'll just keep taking imperfect actions. And over time, I've actually realized that one of my superpower is imperfect action, is imperfection. And so now I hold on to that. That's why, like, when I'm doing a podcast, it's not going to be perfect. When I do my course, it's not going to be perfect. But the bottom line is that imperfection actually saves lives. So when you take imperfect actions in your finances, you don't have to wait for the perfect time. You don't have to wait for the perfect scenario. You don't have to wait for the perfect sort of like time forecast or like forecast about the analysis. Like imperfection is literally the only reason why we have the assets that we have, the freedom we have, the ability to take time off, and all of those stuff. The reason why I have 200 and something episodes on the podcast today is not because I'm a unicorn or I'm so good at any of the stuff. It's because I've chosen to not even just accept imperfection, but to shoot for imperfection. So every time my brain comes after me and go, but you're gonna make a mistake, I'm like, my goal is imperfect action. Right? I will lean into wisdom, I will lean into my social wealth and ask people for their thoughts and their wisdom and all of that. I'll lean into my coaches, I'll lean into the communities where I seek support, but imperfection is the goal. So that was the second breakthrough that led to a breakthrough in my finances is okay. So that's literally how I was able to invest in real estate within a couple of months of starting to learn real estate because of imperfection. Even the market that I chose was imperfect. I wanted California, the numbers were not smiling. I chose a different market. I was like, I'm just going to take action. When we wanted to start short term rentals, my goal was to do Tahoe. We looked, we could not get, I had a timeline. We could not find a deal that made sense. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to an imperfect market. And now that market has been doing well for us. We have a beautiful property, beachfront property that by God's grace is going to stay in our family for a very, very long time because we can build wealth and enjoy at the same time. I hope this is making sense for you because your desire to choose the perfect time, perfect deal, perfect location, perfect everything, as if you only have one shot, is the reason why you're not taking any shot at all. Yeah, feel free to quote me on that. Tag me in it. Yep. I don't even remember what I just said. I'll see if my team can find the quote and maybe we'll use it for something. But like, guys, let's get going. Okay. The next breakthrough that I came to realize is this was when I was starting to look at my finances. And even, guys, regardless of what your net worth is, as long as you're trying to grow, all those things apply at every level. So make sure that you don't think, oh, I'm too grown for that. No, because you think you're too grown for that is why your freedom that you once had is no longer a thing for you. And this next breakthrough was I realized that not all spending is created equal. And for those of you guys that maybe you're earning $200,000, 300, 400, $500,000 and beyond every year, and you're like, I don't seem to have money left to invest. Part of it is because you are thinking that all spending is created equal. And so maybe it's not a matter of like cutting down on spending. Maybe it's a matter of like changing how you spend. Maybe it's a matter of like shifting what you're spending on so that instead of spending on liabilities, you're spending on assets. For some of you guys, I will give you an example. Like when we decided that we wanted to go the private school route with our kids, that was not something that we had wanted earlier. But at some point, we decided that there were certain things that was important to us. So we chose to put our kids in private school, and private school ain't cheap for 3 kids, right? So we had to, again, it was like, well, do we really want to spend on private school? Like when you think about adding on spending, it may seem daunting. But when you think about it as like shifting spending, how you're spending, the same way people can shift how the income they're earning can start to shift it from what is taxable to what is not taxable or what may be more friendly when it comes to like tax liability. You can start to talk about things like, shifting income, where maybe you're earning income in your business and now you can hire kids and move things from a high taxable tax bracket to a lower tax bracket. They call that income shifting. And for you, the same thing can apply when it comes to spending shifting, right? So that it doesn't feel so daunting. Like, well, I'm spending all my money. Well, you still are going to spend a lot of maybe all of your money, but now you're spending it more towards assets and not liabilities. I hope that's helpful for you. And you can use that for anything you want. Anytime you're like, there is a want that I have, a need that I have, but it doesn't feel like I have extra, the question becomes, how do I shift? What many physicians do is their income, what they're earning, is being spent on what is not increasing in value over time. So you are already shifting from wealthy spending to poverty or stocky or now liberating spending anyway. So now what you want to do is just shift things around. So it's spending shifting as opposed to spending more, spending less. We're shifting spending from liabilities to assets, the things that increase in in growth, things that increase in freedom, things that increase your wealth ability in future. So that was point number 3. That was a breakthrough moment for me. Number 4 is about debt, right? Sort of the way that we're taught about debt is not the most liberating. It's not the most liberating. It works for many people, but it doesn't work for most of us. And I shared my experience earlier about how I was thinking about debt and how I thought the goal was to have no debt, but then I had no debt and I had no debt, but I had no assets, right? There could be benefit to having no debt in the season of your life, but it's important to know the season that you're in. I will be honest with you. If my goal was to be debt free and I continue that goal, there's no way we would have the kind of assets that we currently have. There's no way, I don't think there's a way we would. There's no way we would have been able to go from knowing nothing 8 years ago to be able to take a year off practicing medicine and traveling around the world. That would have been harder to do, or just harder to do, right? And so the next shift that I had was understanding like debt is not all debt is created equal. Not all debt is created equal, but also that debt is actually not what keeps you stuck. Is what kind of debt it is and how you're thinking about the debt. Is the way that you're thinking about debt liberating for you? Does it give you freedom? Does it give you choices? Or does it feel like it's making you cuffed? You know, there's a woman in the money school who shared her experience that before she joined us inside of the money school, for her, she thought that debt was like she was so stuck on debt, she could not think of anything else. She was stuck at her job. She was taking all the calls. She did not have time for family because all she could think about was debt. And literally, she's been in the community now for just 18 months. 18, less than 18 months, I believe. She's been in our community for like a year plus. And the things this lady has done within 12 months is like mind boggling. The debt, created a plan because it's just one of many things that are part of your wealth building. Like if you're centered on debt only, you're going to be focusing more on scarcity, not liberation. So her, that was like a breakthrough moment for her, is understanding that not all debt is created equal, but also that debt doesn't have to keep her stuck. Debt doesn't have to stand in the way of her building wealth. And now she's been able to leverage that, created a debt plan, but also now been able to invest. There's so many more points that I had. I did not want this episode to be too long. There's so many other, like there's like 3 or 4 more breakthrough that I had. And I may actually end up recording that in a separate episode for you guys. But I wanted to let you know, like, this is what breakthrough is. It's a change, a sudden, something just like shifts. You may have been hearing it forever. And that is why it's so important to keep exposing yourself to information that is helpful, that is liberating, like this podcast. But I also want to make sure I invite you to what we have coming up, because for so many physicians, we're letting the fear of money, the fear of shame, the lack of accessibility of information in a way that makes sense to us, we're letting that stand in between us and the freedom and the growth that we can have. And so what we have coming up is a 4-day event. It's the live event. I'm going to be teaching starting March 24th, 2025. And it is going to be 4 p.m. Pacific time to 5:30 Pacific time. There will be recordings available because I know that sometimes you guys are busy, sometimes I'm busy. And I want to teach you some amazing, practical, breakthrough inducing points when it comes to your finances. So it's a financial breakthrough solution for women physicians. This is going to be like-minded women physicians like you and I gathering together in a Facebook group. And I'm going to be teaching for that 90 minutes a day for 4 days. Again, replay available. It's only $97. You get access to the replay for a week so that you don't procrastinate. And I want you to experience small shift that is going to change the projection of your entire financial future. And the goal is to learn how you can take the income you're currently earning and let it work for you so that your current income can help you create more money, more time, more wealth without you needing to work more hours. This is literally how I help women physicians in the money school create breakthrough after breakthrough. Where now they're like, man, I'm starting work later. I am pivoting in my career. I am negotiating 6 figures more. I am asking and I'm getting what I'm asking for. Like, imagine that being you. Imagine that becoming your reality, because you're not just waiting outside of the walls, waiting for a perfect time that would never come. Like, life is never going to stop being busy. unless you change something. Your finances will not change unless you change something. Your net worth will not grow unless you change something. The change you're looking for is literally waiting for you. If you don't change, nothing will change. And the change that's happening, that is waiting to happen, is not going to happen in 2026. It's happening, it could happen in 2040. But what I want you to understand is that you are limiting and delaying your own freedom. And I think part of that is because you don't understand, or you're missing or forgetting how valuable your life is, how valuable you with freedom is, how valuable with you with more money is. Like, you are so valuable. And if you start to understand that your finances is linked with the impact that you could have even in the lives of your children, you will start to make decisions differently. So I want to invite you for that 4 day of financial breakthrough only for women physicians. I love you guys, the rest of you guys that are listening to this. You guys are amazing. And, I love providing resources that you guys can benefit from. But this one is only for women physicians that want to take the income they are currently earning and turn it into growth, into more freedom, and into more wealth. It is going to be amazing. It is going to be powerful. And I want you to ask yourself, what is stopping you from saying yes to that? Well, it's only $97. What is stopping you from investing in your future? Because if you don't decide that now is the time, then God bless you. Seriously, I ain't got nothing else to say, right? The link is going to be in the show note. It's moneyfitmd.com/FLP. I look forward to seeing you. Don't procrastinate. It's time to go register. I will see you in the Facebook group, and I cannot wait to be witness to the breakthrough that you are going to experience in the first quarter of 2025. I love you. Thanks for listening. And if this episode has helped you, make sure you share it with other women physicians that can benefit as well. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.